Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get you going real quick. We're gonna have to talk about some stuff today, y'all. Um, hold on. Hold the dough, hold the dough, hold door. I gotta try my new comment thing. Hold door so I can see. Uh, oh, okay, I can't do that. Okay. So anyway, good morning, good morning. Good morning. I don't want this. How do I get rid of that? Good morning. Good morning. That is a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm dealing with some stuff at the moment. Technical challenges. All right, there we go. It's gone. All right. I don't know who's here. Hold on. I was gonna try. I was gonna. That didn't come out right. When words don't come out right, you got to drink coffee. Put a little more caffeine in there. There we go. Whew. Try to treat that. Got to treat that stuff. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna have some fun today. We done found some racism. We done found some Listen, I can't. This stuff. This stuff comes to my desk. I don't know whether to laugh or cry half the time. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not. I gotta shrink stuff so it doesn't mess up the sound. All right. I don't know. People put this stuff on me, and oh my goodness, Sister Victoria done sent me something yesterday, blew me away. Good morning, Buddha. How you doing, Brother Sean? How you doing, Renee? Gotta get your Joe, Renee. Gotta get your Joe. Gotta get your cup of Joe. My mouth isn't working right this morning. Sometimes your mouth just don't work right. That's why I keep telling y'all young folks, Generation Y, don't get old. Don't do it. Don't do it. They discover some compounds to keep you young. Don't get old. So, all right. Hey, Sister Nikki. That's right. It's crazy out here. But look. I'm just. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm laughing. I'm crying. All of that, all up in one for the stuff that I'm looking at. I know I'm smiling, but that's okay. Brain and hail and everything's hitting me because the world coming to an end, y'all. Is coming to an end. So, but anyway, I'm not gonna belabor. Actually, I am gonna belabor the point because that's what I do. I'm sorry, that's kind of do that. But okay, so Climate Gate. We're gonna talk about Climate Gate today, y'all. I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go there. I was gonna let Brother Tatsu and some other people take it on. People much smarter than I am. But when you when you look at the data and you realize, oh my gosh. So one of the things that you always have to worry about. I got so much in my head, I don't even know how to talk this morning. I talked positively about politicians yesterday, so I'm back to just kind of throw my darts today. So when that politician shows up and they say, brother, I got your side, we're gonna look out for you. That's the one you need to look out for. That's the dude or the girl. That's the one that's got some hidden, nasty stuff for you, because you're not gonna watch them, right? Like it's an old strategy. If you want to take down your enemy, you always put somebody in their camp, somebody that looks like them, somebody that talks like them, somebody that they'll trust, and you can get away with some heinous stuff. I posted a link this morning. Y'all saw it. Some of y'all might know where I'm going with this. But so getting down to the root of it, if you're a bad guy, if you're just bad people, you're just nasty. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, by the way, I appreciate y'all sharing. I do appreciate y'all sharing. I think the truth has to get out there. And this is not my truth. I'm just sharing stuff. Sister Valerie put this on my desk and I got to get it out there. So, but if you're a bad guy, just nasty, the only way you survive on the planet, only way you survive on a planet full of human beings that just have a propensity for good is you gotta pretend that you're good. You gotta put on that sheep's clothing. The only way you can be a wolf and walk amongst the sheep is you gotta wear that sheep's clothing. You gotta put your fur on. And so but you also need a bad guy. When people start to see, when sheep look at you and they look and they see, well, wait a minute, you supposed to be a sheep. Why you got a tail? You supposed to be a sheep, but damn it, you got some teeth. You what's them canines for? Where you gonna put them? You gotta pay attention. You gotta look. Buddha already on it. Already posted. I listen. I'm not mentioning no names. We're not doing no names today. I'm not. I did my politician stuff. I'm not. I don't like politics. I don't like bull. I don't like lies, and most importantly, I don't like anybody messing with poor people. That's what I don't like. Again, if you are murdering people or if you're taking away their freedom, that's when the adults need to lay down their BS and stand up for the voiceless that y'all are praying about. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So good morning, Brother Gavin. How you doing? I always appreciate the deep comments. All right, so Sister Valerie put this on my desk. And what I saw when I started looking at Climate Gate, and I kind of knew about it. It came from my Republican friend's side. I kind of knew about it, and I knew that the climate folks, they were doing some lying. I knew they were doing some lying. But let me be clear. Let me be clear, right? So I am a gardener, which means I am always outside. I have thousands upon thousands of plants. So first of all, here's the fact. The fact is the climate's changing. It is. It is. Year to year, it's definitely doing something different. Over the last 10 years, there's no question to me that it's doing something different. And I can't talk about your climate. I can't talk about your neighborhood, your area, your storms, and what's going on. But here is doing some different stuff that it hadn't done in 10 years. Going back 100 years, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what the climate was 100 years ago. I'm getting old, but I'm not getting that old. I'm not sure that I trust. And I've seen the data. I'm not sure that I trust the dude with the little mercury thing 100 years ago, and he had to plant, he had to farm, and he had to do his thing. I'm not sure I trust his data so much compared to nowadays where they kind of justify these things. But I know things are different in my lifetime. I know some weird stuff is happening. But so I think the climate's changing. I think that if you're logical and you ever watched National Geographic, you've ever looked at what core samples are from the Arctic, you would know that the climate changes. Damn it, it always does. Now, do we have an impact on that? I was going to say I'm not a climatologist, but the reality is, it doesn't matter. There isn't a person on this planet that's smart enough that has the data or the technology to determine if human beings are actually affecting the climate. And to me, it's stupid to argue one way or another. I think you're an extremist if you're arguing one way or another. The bottom line is the climate's changing. I don't really care who did it, right? Like hey, good morning, Sister Marsha. I was in a good conversation yesterday with someone, and we were talking about my issue with the whole climate change thing is we can't agree that the climate's changing. We have to get to a point that the majority agree the climate's doing something funky before we start pointing fingers, right? Because when you start pointing fingers, that's not about climate change, right? That's the war industry pointing at the miners and the miners pointing at somebody else, and the automaking industry and the oil pointing at the lawnmowers not being as efficient. So I don't want to get into blame. Blame is political, right? Like you start to get into, you want to start to sell me something. I don't want to buy nothing. We have to get to a point first where people agree the climate's doing something funky. Is it a 10-year funky? Is it a 100-year funky? Or is it that 10,000-year funky that we're going for some sort of some type of extinction? So I want to take you through this video real quick. Just going to do a few minutes of it. But uh, in everything, y'all, everything, you always gotta tell the truth. Always. Like the only way human beings survive is by we tell the truth and we seek the truth. The best thing human beings are good at is thinking, loving. If I can think of anything else, I'll let you know. But thinking and loving, we do great at that. All of this job stuff y'all do, don't get me wrong. Don't, y'all suck at it. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, the robots do a hell of a better job. Software, much more efficient. So y'all are hung up on that. So we need to constantly think and we need to constantly love because that's what we're great at. So, and if you love to think, that's even better. So in thinking though, you always have to question everything. Not question the others, not question the other party, not question the other projects, not question only the things that don't fund your lifestyle, but you need to question everything because it's not, truth is the only way. And the whole climate debate thing right now, I think the intellectual debate, not the political debate, the intellectual debate really about is this a 10-year, 100-year, 1,000-year, or 10,000-year cycle? Like, that's the critical question. How do we save lives? What do we need to do? Are the waters rising? Are the coastlines disappearing? Do we need to deploy 1,000-year-old technology to put human beings on stilts to save their lives? Do you rebuild in places like New Orleans that are just, bathtubs? Or do you build bigger levees? Like, those are the intelligent debates because why they're centered around thought, truth, right? Getting to the truth and love for the love of the people who are going to be affected by these things. So that's the intelligent debate. And the only way we can have that intelligent debate is if you take the extremists, right? And you look, hey, we love y'all, but you push them to the side. Like, you go over there, world's ending tomorrow, you going over there. Ain't nothing changing. You crazy. You going over there. Things are changing. Hey, just sit in your little box. Wear your little dunce hat for a little while. Let the grown-ups talk for a little bit. But that's how we get there. So I'm gonna tell you what I saw, and I'm gonna take you into the video. And Brother Corbett's gonna talk about some of the data that is making me question some of the things that I believed, right? So my stickler is simply this. If you are hurting people weaker than you and you're lying about it, I want to tell you, I want to call you out. I think the adults should be calling you out. And when you put politics into science and when you put politics into love and all these other things, it's not love anymore. It's not science anymore. It's just BS. That's all it is. So I'm not calling this BS. I'm just saying, look at the data, because when people start lying, they're lying for a reason. When people start making stuff up, they're making stuff up for a reason. And the picture that this paints is not a pretty picture. So for me, what I see when you look at the wars, right, is we're invading countries to get the resources. A lot of them tend to be the countries that we can't get the resources out of, right? Like the third world and the fourth world, and this is what I said the other day, and I still stand by it, because it's true. We use organizations like the Clinton Foundation and others. There are lots of them. We lucked up and found out what they were doing. But they destabilize countries, and they keep them destabilized through warlords and fighting factions by funding guns on both sides, like we caught y'all in Syria, Iran-Iraq conflict, and Congo and the other places, Somalia. And so you keep these people in the third world so you can mine the resources out. And if you're starting to develop, we'll bomb you back to the fourth world. Why? Because we're going to take the resources. There are corporations that buy these politicians to take those resources. And so to do that, how do you do it? You always got to have a need. Somebody has to be bombing some kids, or someone has to be putting chemical weapons on some kids, or somebody has to have some weapons of mass destruction, or somebody has to have a bin Laden, somebody has to be Saddam Hussein, somebody has to be Putin, Russia, somebody, there's always Kim Jong Il, whatever his name is. Somebody has to be the bad guy, right? Because if I'm a bad guy and you're starting to see through my sheep clothing, and you're starting to see I got some teeth, you're starting to see that I got a tail, then damn it, I gotta say, okay, you know what? I might be a sheep with some teeth, and damn it, I might bite me a ham hock or two. But it's always something worse out there. Oh, on that hill, it's a wolf. It's a wolf. And I think that the internet's changing things because people are actually, the people who are critical thinking, who actually want the data, who actually want to know the truth and aren't doing this little groupism BS, they're starting to see, whoa, you are a wolf. And so that wolf is pointing to a worse wolf, the bad guy. There's always got to be a bad guy. And so what I'm saying through climate change, not that it's not true, but people are starting to grab a hold of it and make it political because it's a little more effective than war. Right? You can bomb a country back to steal its resources, and that's obvious to a lot of us what you're doing. But it's a little different if you say it's climate change. And this is what they got caught in. Got caught with your fingers in the cookie jar, trying to keep people in the third and fourth world by preventing them from developing on this climate change idea. So all right, so let's go. I'm going to shut up for a minute. I want y'all to see something. Good morning, Kimberly. How you doing, sister? Let's just get into it. And this blew me away, y'all. This and you got to look at your sources. Brother Corbett, I love Brother Corbett. I watch a lot of his stuff. I've found over the years that he tends to tell the truth. I haven't caught him making stuff up or falsifying. He usually waits till he has the data and he'll put a picture together for you. So let's listen to Brother Corbett. I'm going to shut up. Listen to somebody a hell of a lot smarter than I am. Please take.
This is James Corbett of ClimateGate.tv, and this week marks the one-year anniversary of the release of emails and documents from the Climatic Research Unit at the University of East Anglia that we now know as ClimateGate. Sitting here now, 1 year later, it's becoming difficult to remember the importance of that release of information, or even what information was actually released. Many were only introduced to the scandal through commentary in the blogosphere, and many more came to know about it only weeks later, after the establishment media had a chance to assess the damage and fine-tune the spin that would help allay their audience's concern that something important had just happened. Very few have actually bothered to read the emails and documents for themselves. Few have browsed the Harry README file, the electronic notes of a harried programmer trying to make sense of the CRU's databases. They have never read for themselves how temperatures in the database were artificially adjusted to look closer to the real temperatures. Or the hundreds, if not thousands, of dummy stations which somehow ended up in the database. Or how the exasperated programmer resorts to expletives before admitting he made up key data on weather stations because it was impossible to tell what data was coming from what sources. Few have read the 2005 email from ClimateGate ringleader and CRU head Phil Jones to John Christie, where he states, quote, "The scientific community would come down on me in no uncertain terms if I said the world had cooled from 1998. Okay, it has, but it is only 7 years of data and it isn't statistically significant." Or where he concludes, "As you know, I'm not political. If anything, I would like to see the climate change happen so the science could be proved right, regardless of the consequences. This isn't being political. It is being selfish." Or the email where he broke the law by asking Michael Mann of hockey stick fame to delete a series of emails related to a Freedom of Information request he had just received. Or the email where he wrote, "If they ever hear there is a Freedom of Information Act now in the UK, I think I'll delete the file rather than send it to anyone. We also have a Data Protection Act, which I will hide behind." Or the other emails where these men of science say they will redefine the definition of peer review in order to keep differing viewpoints out of the scientific literature. Or where they discuss ousting a suspected skeptic from his editorial position in a key scientific journal. Or where they fret about how to hide the divergence in temperature proxy records from observed temperatures. Or where they openly discuss the complete lack of warming over the last decade. Or any of the thousands of other emails and documents exposing a laundry list of gross scientific and academic abuses. Of course, the alarmists continue to argue, as they have ever since they first began to acknowledge the scandal, that ClimateGate is insignificant. Without addressing any of the issues or the specific emails, they simply point to the independent investigations that they say have vindicated the ClimateGate scientists. Like the UK Parliamentary Committee, which issued a report claiming that Phil Jones and the CRU's scientific credibility remained intact after a rigorous one-day hearing which featured no testimony from any skeptic or dissenting voice. After the release of the report, the committee stressed that the report did not address all of the issues raised by ClimateGate, and Phil Willis, the committee chairman, admitted that the committee had rushed to put out a report before the British election. Or the Oxburgh Inquiry, chaired by Lord Ron Oxburgh, the UK vice chair of Globe International, an NGO-funded climate change legislation lobby group. The Oxburgh Inquiry released a 5-page report after having reviewed 11 scientific papers unrelated to the ClimateGate scandal that had been handpicked by Phil Jones himself. It heard no testimony or evidence from anyone critical of the CRU. Unsurprisingly, it found the ClimateGaters not guilty of academic misconduct. Regardless of what one thinks of the veracity or independence of these so-called investigations into the ClimateGate scandal itself, what has followed has been a catastrophic meltdown of the supposedly united front of scientific opinion that man-made CO2 is causing catastrophic global warming. In late November of 2009, just days after the initial release of the ClimateGate emails, the University of East Anglia was in the hot seat again. The CRU was forced to admit that they had thrown away most of the raw data that their global temperature calculations were based upon, meaning their work was not reproducible by any outside scientists. In December of that year, the UN's Copenhagen climate talks broke down when a negotiating document was leaked showing that, contrary to all PR, it would be the third world nations bearing the brunt of a new international climate treaty, with punishing restrictions on carbon emissions that would prevent them from ever industrializing. The document, written by industrialized nations, allowed the first world to emit twice as much carbon per person as the third world, and was widely seen as an implementation of a eugenical austerity program under a green cover. This agenda was further exposed by the influential Optimum Population Trust in the UK, which began arguing that same month that rich Westerners offset their carbon footprints by funding programs to stop black people from breeding. In January 2010, it was revealed that a passing comment to a journalist from an Indian climatologist that the Himalayan glaciers could melt within 40 years found its way into the much-touted Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's fourth report on climate change via a World Wildlife Fund fundraising pamphlet. When IPCC defenders tried to pass the universally derided prediction off as a legitimate mistake, the coordinating lead author of that section of the report admitted that the IPCC knew that the report was based on baseless speculation in a non-peer-reviewed work, but deliberately included it because we thought that if we can highlight it, it will impact policymakers and politicians and encourage them to take some concrete action. Later that month, doubt was cast on another claim in the IPCC report, this one that 40% of the Amazon rainforest was in danger of disappearing due to man-made global warming. These doubts were confirmed in July when the claim was sourced back to pure, unverified speculation on the now-defunct website of a Brazilian environmental advocacy group. Just this month, the exact opposite of the original claim was shown to be the case when a new study appeared in Science demonstrating that forests in past warming periods were not decimated, but in fact blooming with life, experiencing a rapid and distinct increase in plant diversity and origination rates. Also in January, the UK Information Commissioner ruled that researchers at the CRU had broken the law by refusing to comply with Freedom of Information requests, but that no criminal prosecution would follow because of a statute of limitations on prosecuting the illegal activity. In February, the UK Guardian revealed that a key study co-authored by Phil Jones that purported to show there was no such thing as the well-established urban heat island effect was found to have relied on seriously flawed data. This, according to The Guardian, led to apparent attempts to cover up problems with the temperature data. In September, John Holdren, the man who had previously advocated adding sterilizing agents to the water supply to combat the overpopulation problem, which he thought would ravage the Earth by the year 2000, and who currently is the science czar in the Obama White House, advocated a name change for global warming to climate disruption.
Yeah. So, look, I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Why? Because I want y'all. First, I don't want to get in trouble. Number one. Two, I want y'all to follow the brother James Corbett. He's off the hook. He'll blow. Did y'all hear that? Like, listen. Did you? Are you paying attention to what was just said? Right. So basic. There's so many things, and if you're a climate change person, just bear with me for a moment, right? Like, I used to kind of be one. I used to be one of you. Okay, just bear with me for a minute. Like, the first questions that when you want to be a person of the truth that you need to ask is, do you really want to know the truth, right? And can you handle the truth? Damn it, can you handle it? I think I can, which is why I'll question anything, and I'll look for the doubt. And I'll post this video. I want y'all to watch the whole thing, but look for the doubt. Look for the did he say anything that made you doubt a little bit, right? Because it's crazy. Yeah, Kimberly, it blows my mind too. It's crazy. It's nuts to think how evil just. And I don't think the humans who run a lot of this stuff are evil. I think it's something else is doing something. I make excuses for people all day. I love me some people, y'all. They crazy as hell sometimes, but I love me some people. So, but the deep thing is, so the third world countries came out, and that's what. Listen to the poor people, y'all. Shut up with the rich people. Listen to the poor people, and they're telling you that your wealthy countries are just basically trying to hold us back from producing. Why? Because if you can't, oh boy, I'm gonna say the word, but if you're not fracking, you don't have oil, and you don't have the basic bare bones construct to go from being a third or fourth world to an industrialized nation and building up a government. Oh my God, you might get a military and be able to defend yourself. We can't have that, because then you might get internet and Wi-Fi. You might be able to tell that, we're funding terror in your country to keep you destabilized. But I won't go down conspiracy lane. But the point is that if you are a impoverished country, you can't afford. And I know my green people. Listen, I'm in the green industry. But they should have solar panels. They should have hydro. They should have geothermal. Ask yourself the question: are you going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? How are these countries supposed to develop? How are they supposed to get infrastructure so they can feed their people? And so they can't, which is what this whole destabilizing nonsense is about. So this was deep, that the third world countries are coming out and saying, look, these people up to something. Like, the numbers say that in the developed countries, the carbon footprint per person was different from other countries, which tend to be the third, fourth world countries. Why? Because, well, it's not about the why. It's about follow the money and see the reasoning, what it could mean. It means that they will not be able to develop, right? So countries, as an example, I like to talk about Vietnam, but countries that we completely decimated, countries that are just trying to pull themselves up, countries that are still dying, people are still dying in mass from cancer and leukemia and all this stuff, from all the chemicals we sprayed everywhere, can't even pull themselves up because we're not even going to let them develop. We don't have to bomb them. We won't have to invade. We don't have to send drones to blow up everything to keep them destabilized. We don't have to be duplicitous in that way, because we can just simply lock them in through poverty through climate change, right? Climate change initiatives, climate change, and so it's crazy, y'all. There's so much to it. I can't even go through all of it. And then I posted this article. Y'all can read that this morning. But then there's geoengineering, right? So if you were listening, and so now, okay, so climate change is a thing. It's a huge thing. And so we go into this area of identity politics, right? So now, which is what the psychopaths do, right? The psychopaths, they'll co-opt any power structure. And this is the gripe most of y'all who aren't religious got with religion, because the psychopaths look at it as a means of power and controlling people. And so they do anything they can to take over that structure so they can have power over people. which is what unfortunately is going to happen to any project where we just believe in blind faith. And that's what you have to focus on, is not having blind faith. You have to question everything. It's not about if climate change is real, it's about what is real about it. What is the true data? He went through a bunch of stuff. They faked the data. They deleted the data. They had emails talking about faking and deleting the data. They faked the stations, y'all. There were hundreds to thousands of fake stations. They just, you know, you can't ever believe anyone at anything blindly. You always got to. The difference between science and bull is whether or not you're going to keep them honest. What they know is you can say, well, climate change is a left thing and climate deniers is a right thing. And they make these words, right? And it clicks in your identity politics sections of your brain. And you hear that word and you flip out and you're already ready to attack something, or you're already to deny something or support something. You got to be smarter than that. You got to be smarter than that. Because remember, the psychopaths, man, they have tools that we don't have. They don't have any of that empathy and conscience and anything. What they understand is, I got to get 100 million into this industry so I can get my million campaign contribution. How am I going to do that? It's getting harder to do it with the military industrial complex. So we're going to do it with climate change. And this whole climate change thing is real. Maybe this is what happened. I'm going to change my picture. Hold on. I'm getting off that. Maybe this whole climate change thing is real, but we need to shake a little sugar on it. We need to get a little sugar, make a little, here comes the storm with my Godzilla, but we need to add a little sugar to it. Make it seem a little worse than what it is, and if we can make it seem a little worse than what it is, we can get people angry. We can get them protesting. We can get their blind faith where we can do anything we want in any country we want. And I use the word racism because it's funny and it's fun to me. I don't know, y'all little nuts and crazy, y'all, because y'all go and y'all pick the people who are like the biggest racists to fight racism, and I can't figure out how. But the whole idea of robbing, murdering, raping, and killing in the third world is a form of racism, right? Like, that's nationalism. You've decided that these people are poor, these people can't defend themselves, they're indigenous or whatever it is, so we can take what they have. We can rob them. It's a home invasion, and that's what this is about. And so this is the scary thing, is that as much as I know the climate is changing, it is. I don't know how extreme, I don't know how fast, but damn it, I barely got any tomatoes this year, and I'm pissed off about that. My tropicals, they didn't do what they normally do. It was a very cold summer. Yesterday, damn it, it was almost 90 degrees here in Pennsylvania. But I remember crazy weather. I grew up in Maryland. I remember in July, one day it snowed. And I was like, is that snow coming out of the sky? What the hell, for like 5 minutes? And it could have been a little micro cloud or climate or whatever. But crazy stuff happens, and I get that. But if we don't know the truth, Sister Patty, you come up with there was an Anunnaki. Yeah, so we were not going to go right down that path. In fact, I'm gonna change that. So there's real, and then there's fake. And if you really have a heart in this thing, and you don't have that artificial outrage and stuff, well, actually, if you have your artificial outrage, this is what you should be using it for. You should be using it to actually highlight the people of your group who are trying to co-opt climate change and make it seem like I'm in a bad thunderstorm. Doesn't it seem like I am? Like, damn it, I'm about to hit by some lightning. I'm not about to hit by some lightning, because this is bull. This is a gift image behind me. And if you can't spot the bull, then we're going to head for a very dark place. And so this is you got to get to a place where you just have to be. I just wish that we as people, we all could have I'm just bull chiseling on your forehead, or I'm serious on your forehead. Because that actually is how I see people. When I see people who are willing to be wrong, I posted something the other day. And I think it was something to the effect. I get these thoughts, y'all. I'm just drinking my coffee, listening to lectures, talking to people. I get these thoughts. And the whole point was, you got to be willing to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. If you can be wrong, it actually means that you're trying, you're doing something. It means that you actually give a damn about the topic that you say you give a damn about. But people who are never wrong, and I got them, I know them. I don't, they say, hey, how you doing? And I see bullshit on their forehead because I know they're just playing. I know they're not serious. I know that they've never been wrong, So you got to be willing to be wrong. And you got to be willing to turn on the people who wear whatever label you want to wear. Y'all like your labels. I don't do them labels. You like the groups. You got to be willing to be wrong. And so, Brother Desmond, yeah, I think, but we got to call them out. Like a lot of people do know that they're bullshizzling. But you got to call them out. Like it's one thing to let them keep that voice. And it's something else to say, nah, you're wrong. Like it's okay if you're on the left to say, nah, the right was right about this. And it's okay to be on the right and say, nah, left was right about this. Because in the middle, we like, what the hell is wrong with all of y'all? Like, y'all look crazy. This is why in the middle, shoot, we building bunkers and we trying to find plans to get the hell out this country. Because y'all crazy as hell. We want y'all to come down from Crazy Town. That's all. We just want y'all to come down. Because we love y'all. We love y'all. We love the future. And it's okay to be wrong sometimes, because that's how you build up trust. Like a big thing with me is trust, right? Like I get a lot of trouble sometimes because I always trust people. Until you give me a reason to not trust you, I'll trust you. I'm not a person who thinks that trust is earned. Trust for me is not earned. Trust is given. I give you your trust because human beings from birth are good creatures. Look at kids in daycares. Look at kids, playing. They're good from birth. They're made evil. It's their environment. It's their indoctrination. Sometimes it's their parents or whoever's teaching them that makes them evil. I give people trust. Until you prove to me you can't be trusted. And when you can't be trusted, I don't want my name anywhere near you. Right? Like, this is why I'm not in any political parties. I'll say, well, you third party. No, actually, I'm not. I'm not associated with anybody because from what I can tell, they all got some lies. Some of them got some big lies, but the rest got little lies, but they're still lying. And I want to talk about the truth. I want people, when they talk to me, they know that I'm going to tell them the truth as best as what I know it based on the data. And everybody who knows me knows when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Climate change, y'all, I don't know. I just don't know about this anymore. What I know is people are lying. And when people are lying, it means they're up to something. And when they're up to something, it probably means that it's not anything good because they got to lie about it. So, let me shoot y'all. I'm having fun. Man, this is crazy behind. Y'all see this? I'm going to go shoot. I think I'm going to get off. I'm going to go back to the storm. That's kind of scary. I don't do no lightning. But, but at the end of some truth, right? Like if you discover truth, which is what I think they did with climate change, there's some stuff's happening. If you look at what is it, like the last 10,000 years or so that we've been here, things are kind of stable, right? And prior to that, it was like ice age and crazy. But even within that stable, it did some major, like that graph is pretty crazy. So we know that these cycles come. We know that sometimes they last 100 years, sometimes they last 200 years, sometimes they last 10 years. And saving lives is all about the truth. If we're going to hand down to the next generation a better world, a better society, a better whatever, it has to be based on the truth. And so I think a lot of the fighting between the left and the right is truth. It's like, I think while they're fighting each other, if you're not on either side, I think they make it obvious where the other person is, where the other group is lying. And if you can see where they're lying or you're lying, like if y'all really want to stay in these groups, y'all really want to just stay in ignorant land and these little team up things. If you want to be the winning group, all you got to do is listen to the others, because the others are they're the other intelligent people. They're not stupid. They're not stupid like your leaders tell you. These are other intelligent people. And they're seeing through your BS. And they're reading the data and the research that you aren't. And they're calling your leaders BS. And they're right. So if you want your group to bubble to the top, you really do, then all you got to do is listen to the others, take that data, and put it in front of your leaders and force them to be honest. And whichever one of y'all's parties will do that will win this race to, I don't know where the hell we going. Personally, I think we're on a burning train and we're heading to the station. It's full of gasoline. It's going to blow up and we all going to die. But I think that's what's going to happen if we keep going on, this whole groupism thing. So, all right, I'm sorry. I'm going to see what y'all talking about. This was my thing for the morning. Yes, that brother Desmond. Gotta talk policy. Don't talk. You gotta take action. Action, right? Like you have to talk about policy changes. The whole war thing, right? The whole foreign policy. It's all about resources. It's all about minerals. It always has been. It's like they're saying. They used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire. Sun never sets on the British Empire. Why is that? Because we're so proud. We developed ships and we went circumnavigated the world and we saved the pagans and no, y'all didn't. No, y'all didn't. Y'all just did what America doing right now. You're murdering a bunch of people. You're taking their resources and their land. The only valuable thing on this planet, other than human beings, or the most significant valuable thing, is land. No, your office building is not valuable. Your job is not valuable. Your money is crap. Why? Because it's not even money. It's not even based on gold. It's like a number in a database. The only thing valuable is land. And I think if all of your grandparents were here right now, this is what they would be saying. You're a moron. You idiots. We had farms. We had carpenters. We had blacksmiths. We all had small businesses. And you morons ran to the city, gave up the land, the only valuable thing, sold it for pennies on the dollars when your grandparents died. And now you live in an apartment in a city and you don't own any damn thing. You know the biggest mistake we ever made in this country. I know y'all jump off and say it's a bunch of other stuff, but the biggest mistake we as a group ever made is we left the farms and we went to the city. Why? It was the biggest land grab in the history of the country. And you basically took a people for 200,000 years were largely independent. They were powerful people. They could form their governments. They could fight their king if they need to. They could do anything they wanted. And they probably could do it peacefully if they got together because they got the numbers. And they became dependents. They basically were like, you know how these kids will go off in life, go to college, get a job, move off somewhere, get married, get divorced, move home, and don't want to go nowhere. Like, I want to come home. I want to be a dependent. I want to be a dependent. I want to live on y'all, live off y'all. That's basically what we did. We gave up our power. We gave up our land. We gave up the mineral rights to all those resources. At least the Native Americans, y'all, at least they were smart enough to fight back. That's what I give them, brothers and sisters, man. They were smart enough. They saw him coming. They said, whoa, Chris, the hell you doing over here? You ain't supposed to be over here. You need to go on back over to Europe, man. This ain't your spot. And they fought for their land. This is why. So anyway. Yes, Buddha, you got to keep digging for the truth. You keep digging for the truth. That's when the truth will get revealed. But you constantly got to dig through it. And on rare occasion, you dig in somebody else's yard. Right? Like, where do you dig for it? It's up here. You constantly dig in your own narratives. You constantly dig in your own indoctrination. And you keep breaking apart the things you thought were BS. And when you break them apart, then you go talk to other people who believe the same thing. That's how we get somewhere. How many cups of coffee do I have, Kimber? Oh, man, I have endless cups. No, actually, in the morning, this is how I start. I like to start my day in a little peace, a little love, nice and quiet. Get my cup of coffee. Not the storm. That's fake. Yeah, I know in the background that's fake. I like to start my day nice and peaceful. But Coffee, it does this thing. Coffee is, I don't care what anybody, coffee is a drug. Coffee, y'all can have your cocaine, you can have your cannabis, you can have, like, I believe in your right to have those damn things. But I have a coffee tree. I got one of them. I don't have no coffee beans yet. I'm gonna have some. But coffee allows my brain to do what it needs to do, right? I used to work with these young cats, and some of them they're on my profile. But I used to work with these young programmers, and these guys were sharp. They'd come in the morning. They didn't have to drink coffee. They just hit the start writing program software. And the only way you keep respect is you gotta outthink them. You got the experience. You don't have the speed. But coffee, it'll get you the speed. That's why this is a drug. This is why I tell y'all, you want to start the revolution? I'm not a violent guy. I am not. I believe in the rule of force. You bring me violence, I got enough violence for you to handle. But I'm not a violent guy. I'm a guy about love. But you want the revolution to start? You really want to really get it going? All you got to do is make Americans angry. You just got to get them moody. Take the coffee tree. Y'all, somebody go bomb Colombia and destroy all the coffee trees and all the coffee beans. It'll be an instant revolution. So terrorists, y'all want to take down America? That's all y'all got to do. Don't bomb us. Don't mess with us. All you got to do is take down the coffee trees. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, y'all. Keep digging into the truth. Keep questioning yourself, because that's the only way that we actually, hold on, I can't end on this. This is like crazy. I had Godzilla and lightning and all this crazy background. There we go. We're gonna end in Venus. We always gonna end in the Venus Project. We're always gonna end here. Why? Because all the nonsense that's going on in the world. Why the people who are running the whole climate change narrative right now, why are they running it? They're running it for money. That's why they're doing it. They want to rob the poor people in third world countries all over the world, and the other money schemes too. Like if you were listening towards the end, I'll post James Corbett thing. But if they own the problem, they can own the solution too. And so if I own the problem, it means if I make a product where I can drop some of this in the cloud, this chemical or these beads or some sand or whatever, and I can charge the government hundreds of millions of dollars for it. Oh man, I can make a whole lot of money. I can say, oh, look at what's happening in the Congo. Man, it's a good thing we know this company called Green Tech Solutions. And they always got green names because it always sounds real good. High Tech Solutions, robotic, cloud saving, human life saver incorporated. And they've got this silicone bead, and if we drop it in the clouds, it'll make it rain more and the people can eat and da 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 da. Meanwhile, I don't think that it's anything heinous. I don't think they're trying to kill the people or nothing. All they're trying to do is siphon your tax dollars. They're just trying to make you poorer. That's all. They know that you are dumb enough to keep voting for Democrats and Republicans who are just listening to them, taking little millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands here and there for campaign contributions. They'll spend $100 million to buy the silicone bead to spray in the clouds of the Congo so it can rain on people. And when that happens, they don't know that that's going to land in the soil and it's going to create some sort of condition that causes some sort of genetic fallout when the kids eat the corn, causing microcephaly or some other ailment. Like, I don't think it's heinous to that degree. I don't believe that they're heinous to that degree. But I do believe and I do know that they're basically just trying to siphon your tax dollars. And if we are dumb enough to let this continue, you can't blame the corporation for continuing to do this. And so, of course, if you're a politician and you want to stay in office, then you jump on the climate change issue. Why? Because 5-10 years down the road, we're going to buy some silicone crap that doesn't do a damn thing. We're going to spray it in the cloud. Why? Because it's going to let me stay employed. It's going to take care of my family. And it's going to continue to siphon billions of dollars out of America because these dummies don't know they're the poorest country in the world, but they just happen to have the biggest military, so they're the biggest thugs. So anyway, I'm done with that. That's my 2 cents on Climate Gate. I will post James Corbett video, follow him, and always question the narrative, because by the time it's popular, a lot of times I just think it's bullshizzle by that time. Y'all have a good day. Hey! it's Friday. It's Friday, y'all. It's like anti-slavery day. Anti-slavery day. It's Friday. Put that cotton bag and you can go spend some time with your family. I don't know why you even had a family. You're gonna spend 40 hours a week at work. But anyway, that's why I'm in the Venus Project. Y'all have a good day now.